Hey, my name's Bobby Cannon. In this video, I'm going to help you get started with PowerShell. If you've not installed OmniShell, refer to the previous video where we helped you get started downloading OmniShell, getting everything set up. We've already done that, so we are now ready to start OmniShell. When you start OmniShell, you will land at the PowerShell prompt. Now, if you're familiar with other terminals like the command prompt or the Linux bash, then you'll be familiar with commands like dir or ls. Both of these are aliases to a PowerShell commandlet called getChildItem. And getChildItem lists the children of a specific context. Well, we won't get into all that, but just realize that we've entered PowerShell and we have now executed a few commands. So let's clear the screen. You can do clear screen by doing CLS or clear host, which are basically doing the same thing. We'll talk about aliases a little bit more in a future video. But right now just realize that you can do things, you can execute commands like dir or CLS, and those are shortcuts to the full commandlet of getChildItem and clear host. So now we're going to create our first script. So we're going to come up here and click the new file, and we're going to type in our first script. That is going to be a for loop that prints 1 to 10. So we're going to start with for I equals 1, I less than or equal to 10, and then I increment. And inside of here, we're just going to print out to the host the number. So if we run this script, the first thing I want you to notice is the actual script itself, the contents of the script, is being sent to the console to be executed. We're not executing a file, we're executing the script that we typed into the editor because we haven't saved the file yet. And this is an important distinction because out of the box, PowerShell is configured to allow you to execute code but not execute scripts. So now let's save the file, and we're going to call it my first script. And now we're going to do the same execution of the script, and what you're going to notice is it's not going to let it run because scripts is disabled on the system. So right now PowerShell won't let us execute our script because now it's been saved to the file system. So PowerShell sees this differently. It's a different context. We're telling PowerShell to execute a script, and PowerShell saying no, that's a security problem. We are not going to allow you to execute that script. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to configure PowerShell to tell the system, hey, it's okay to run our local scripts. We trust our local scripts. However, continue to restrict remote execution of scripts, to keep the system secure. But any script we have running locally on our system, we're okay with executing those. So let's go ahead and go take a look at this execution policy information and see what exactly is this all about. Alright, so here we are, and this is about the execution policy, so you can come down here and learn about, hey, if my system is set for restricted, what does that mean? Or if I have it set for all signed, what does that mean? The remote signed is the configuration that I like to run in, and that allows us to not have digital signatures on scripts that have been written remotely and also not downloaded remotely, and this allows us to run our scripts on our system. So that's the way that we're going to configure our environment. Now you'll see some websites, some other videos that'll tell you to set it to unrestricted. I really suggest you stay with remote signed. So let's go configure our system for a remote signed policy. So what are we running now? We can say get execution policy, and that tells us that, hey, we are in a restricted mode, and that is the really locked down version of the system. So we want to do set execution policy, and we want to set it to remote signed. And if we run this script, you'll notice that, oh, wait a minute, we can't set the execution policy because we don't have access to the registry. And this is because, registry access to this specific part of the registry is locked down to administrators only. Well, we're not running as administrator right now. And you'll see that the text is telling you, hey, if you want to change this execution policy for the local machine, the whole machine, then you're going to need to run PowerShell as administrator. To change the execution policy for our current user, we could do that. So if we hit up and said scope current user, then we would be able to execute this, but we want to change it for the full system. We don't want to do it for just our user. So we're going to execute and we're going to elevate OmniShell as administrator. So there's a couple of ways we could go about doing this. That is, I could come over here and just click this button that says elevate to administrator. I'm not going to do that, but that's one way. We can also run the invoke-elevate command. That would also help us elevate. And then the third part is we could actually just close OmniShell, right click here and say run as administrator. Right? So there's several different ways that we could execute and elevate OmniShell to a new scope or to the new administrator. So we're going to go ahead and run invoke elevate, and it's going to say, are you sure you want to elevate? We say yes. So OmniShell is going to close and reopen, and now we're running as administrator. Well, how would we know we're running as administrator? Well, the first way you can check is by looking at the title bar. There's going to be administrator actually spelled out in the title. The other thing you'll notice is that upgrade to administrator button is gone, so it's not there anymore. So we are running as administrator. So now we can do our set-execution policy and go ahead and set that to remote signed. And that's it. Now we have set our execution policy. So if we go take a look at the execution policy, we're now configured for remote signed. So now that our system is configured for an execution policy that allows us to run local scripts, if we come up here and now execute our script, what you'll notice is it just runs and it doesn't give us a problem anymore. And you'll also notice that it is no longer executing the code, it's executing the script. So now our system is configured to run scripts that we create, and the system's not going to have a problem with it. The other thing you'll notice is when you execute from here and you run the script from OmniShell, it's going to insert the fully qualified path to the script, because OmniShell, the script may be somewhere else and not actually in the folder we're in. But you can also come down here and say dir my first script, and you could execute the script locally here, and that also works. So now our system is ready to run all the scripts we create. I hope this video has helped you get PowerShell set up, configured, create your first script, kind of look and see, this is how I would create scripts, this is how I can configure my system to allow me to run my scripts. So thanks for watching the video, and I hope you guys continue to level up your skills and become epic.